My fiancée wanted us to have a deep conversation and said she'd be ready next week. But I couldn't wait. Filed to break our engagement without warning. Be me, 29-year-old mechanical engineer. Didn't write this to ask for advice. Already know what I have to do. Writing this because if I don't get it out of my head, it'll eat me alive. Thursday night around 7:30. Got home from work. House was dark. Unusually dark. Her car was in the driveway, but no lights were on. Thought maybe she was asleep. She gets these migraines sometimes. The real nasty kind that make her close the blinds, hide under the blanket like a vampire. So I went in quiet, slow, left my keys in the bowl by the door. Kicked my sneakers off. Not a single sound. No TV, no music, no smell of dinner cooking. I stood there for a second, holding my breath. Something tight in my gut. That was the first moment I felt it. Not suspicion, not fear. Just this stillness like the house had exhaled without me. Walked down the hallway. Halfway to the bedroom when I saw it. Her purse on the kitchen floor spilled open. Her phone glowing, screen face up. She never ever leaves it like that. I stared at it. Notifications sliding up the screen. First name only. No picture. Connor. And the preview line. Miss you already? You taste like heaven. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just stood there watching as it disappeared. Then popped up again 10 seconds later. This time I still feel your legs around me. Picked the phone up. Not out of curiosity. Out of instinct. Like grabbing a knife off the floor before a kid walks in. It was unlocked. Maybe she had been in the middle of replying when she dropped it. Maybe she didn't expect me home that early. Maybe she thought she was smarter than me. Opened the thread. There were photos. Not the kind that show skin. The kind that show intimacy. His hand holding hers over a table. Her boots in the passenger seat of his car. A selfie of her in the gym mirror with the caption, "For you only." Didn't scroll too far. Didn't need to. It was all there. The timelines, the meetups, the boldness. She had been seeing him for at least a month. Probably longer. Heard the shower running. Put the phone down. Not where I found it. Placed it right in the center of the kitchen counter. Lit up, open. Then I sat in the living room waiting. She came out in that red robe. The one she bought on our anniversary trip to Savannah. Her hair was wet. She looked fresh, relaxed. She didn't see the phone immediately. She saw me. Hey, she said like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just let another man inside her body. Come home to our couch like I was the substitute teacher in her life. Didn't answer. She walked over slowly. Like she could sense the atmosphere had shifted. Then she saw the screen. The messages still open. Her face didn't crumble. Didn't even twitch. She looked at me, eyes hard like glass. What are you doing with my phone? She said, not I'm sorry. Not let me explain. Not even a fake apology. Just that. I stood up. Already made copies. Already emailed the screenshots to myself. Already packed a small bag with the essentials. My toothbrush, a few shirts, my grandfather's watch. My wedding ring was in the pocket of my jeans. I sent you the papers, I said. They should be in your inbox. She didn't look surprised. Didn't even blink. Instead, she shrugged, and then she said it. The line that made the last thread snap in my chest like piano wire. We'll talk Tuesday. Like I was some HR issue. Like our marriage was a calendar event she could reschedule. Said nothing. Left the door open when I walked out. Didn't slam it. Didn't even close it. Let her hear it swing in the wind behind me. Let her know I was gone. Didn't sleep that night. Checked into a motel off Highway 75. The kind with buzzing light fixtures and paper-thin walls. Lay on the mattress, fully clothed. Staring at the ceiling while the AC unit groaned like it was dying. Kept hearing her voice. That cold clipped, we'll talk Tuesday. Like I was a task to reschedule. Like our whole life could be shelved between coffee runs and appointments. The more I thought about it, the more it hit me. She had probably planned to be caught. Or maybe she just stopped caring whether she was... That's the real betrayal, isn't it? Not the act itself, but the apathy. The disrespect. The next morning, I went back. Not to see her, not to talk. Had one mission, get the rest of my stuff before she had time to touch it. Manipulate it, burn it, maybe pulled into the driveway around 8 a.m. The neighborhood was quiet. Fog still hanging low. Her car was gone. Either at the gym or at his place. Hell, maybe both. Had about 45 minutes max. Unlocked the door. Same key I'd used for 7 years. Everything smelled like her. Vanilla and whatever perfume she started using this year. The one I always hated. Went straight to the bedroom. Grabbed my box of things from under the bed. My journals, old photos, letters my dad wrote me before he passed. Took the chargers, my work laptop. That ugly ceramic mug she made me in a pottery class for Valentine's Day 3 years ago. The one I lied about loving. But what hit me hardest? The closet. Half of it still mine. Shirts still hanging like nothing was broken. Suits still pressed. My running shoes still lined up next to her boots. Hers. The same ones she probably wore to meet him. Stared at them, and for a second I couldn't move. Just stood there while something inside me twisted. Then I saw it. A small blue gift bag on the floor behind her hamper. Like she tried to hide it, but not well enough. My name wasn't on it. Opened it. Inside cologne, boxed, expensive. Not the kind I wear. And a card. You make Tuesdays worth it. See. Not even my initial. Put the bag back exactly where I found it. That's the moment the sadness left. It burned up into something else. Clean, cold, and final. Didn't want to scream. Didn't want to confront. Just wanted out. Wanted her entire existence out of my orbit. Finished packing in 20 minutes. Left the keys on the counter. Took a photo of them with the date and time, just in case. Wasn't leaving anything open to interpretation. As I turned to leave, I saw the photo on the mantel. Our wedding day. Her in that lace gown, me in the charcoal suit. She was laughing, head thrown back like she hadn't a care in the world. Stared at it for a moment. Then I walked over and turned the frame face down. That was it. Haven't spoken to her since. But she called. 12 missed calls by noon. 1 voicemail. Didn't listen. Sunday morning. Was sitting in my truck, parked behind a Starbucks, sipping on the worst coffee I'd ever had, watching condensation slide down the window like it was in slow motion. That kind of quiet you only hear after betrayal. Thick, shapeless. My phone buzzed again. Another text, another notification. Jessica had switched strategies. No more missed calls. No more voicemails. Now it was paragraphs. Back-to-back texts. Bubbles of guilt and gaslighting trying to burst their way into my day. You don't understand the full story. This isn't what you think it is. Can we just talk like adults? Didn't respond. She was right about one thing. I didn't understand. Didn't understand how someone could build a life with you, promise you everything, and still sleep in someone else's arms, like it was just a different bed on the same map. By noon, the texts changed tone. So you're just going to ignore me? You're being dramatic. Grow up. It was like flipping a light switch. The fake remorse shut off. The real Jessica came roaring through the cracks. The one I'd glimpsed only a few times before, when things didn't go her way. Cold, sharp, like a wolf realizing you're no longer part of the pack. Around 3 p.m., I got a text from David, my best friend, the only one who knew everything. Dude, she showed up at my place. Called him immediately. She's pacing outside, he said. Said she wanted to talk to you. I told her you weren't here and she laughed. Said she knew you'd run to me. I asked, she say anything else? David hesitated. Yeah, she said. I just want to remind him what he's walking away from. Sounded like a threat or a sales pitch. I couldn't tell. That line sat wrong in my chest. By evening, she went silent. No texts, no calls, nothing. Just gone. So I checked her Instagram. Private, of course. But her profile picture had changed. It was her in a dress I'd never seen. Taken in a mirror that wasn't ours. Hair done, makeup perfect. Lips slightly parted like she was about to confess something dangerous. And the caption, Tuesdays never looked this good. It was petty, intentional, designed to stab, so I messaged her. One line. Don't contact me again. Everything goes through the lawyer now. 2 minutes later, she replied, Coward, you'll regret this. Then blocked me, stared at the screen, breathing steady. Not angry, not even hurt anymore. Just finished. But then came the twist I didn't see coming. David called again later that night. And what he told me, it changed everything. When David called me that night, could hear it in his voice. The kind of tension that only shows up when someone's about to drop a bomb. They wish they could keep to themselves. She didn't come to my place to apologize, he said. She came to bait me. Sat there in the truck, half parked under a flickering gas station light. Engine off, jaw tight. Bait you into what? She asked if you told me everything, he said. I said, yeah, that you told me she was messing around with some guy named Connor. She laughed and then she said, You think that's the whole story? I waited. Then David sighed. Ty, I think there's more than one guy. Leaned forward, elbow on the steering wheel. What do you mean more than one? She said, and I quote, He doesn't even know about the others. Then she smiled, got in her car, drove off. Like she just dropped the punchline to a joke I didn't get. My heart didn't beat faster. It just got heavier. See, in the last couple of weeks, all I'd known about was Connor. The texts, the cologne, the card in the closet. But now I realized something that made my blood go cold. She wasn't hiding a mistake. She was managing a rotation, A pattern clicked into place. The late shifts, the new lingerie I never saw on her. The weekends she volunteered at the clinic. The password changes. The gym selfies always from an angle that looked staged, controlled. She hadn't been slipping. She'd been rehearsing. So I made a decision. Called a friend of mine who works in cybersecurity. Quiet guy. Owes me a favor from way back. When I helped him through a nasty breakup, asked him if he could dig phone backups, deleted messages, cloud archives, he said give him a day. Meanwhile, I started packing for real. The motel was wearing me down. The bad lighting, the weak coffee, the silence that didn't soothe. Needed movement, needed distance. Booked a short-term rental an hour out. Small, quiet, furnished, neutral territory. Somewhere I could breathe without seeing her reflection in every frame and pillow. The next day, I got an email from my guy. The subject line was one word. Read. Opened the file. Over 500 messages. Different names, different numbers. 3 different men. One of them wasn't even Connor. One of them was a colleague, a doctor she worked with. Married. Another was someone from her gym, who she'd labeled as Coach K. Each thread told a story, and they weren't stories of accidents or flings. They were ongoing, rehearsed, intentional. They overlapped. There were voice notes, flirty videos, her face, her voice, her promises. And not once in any of those messages did she mention me. I wasn't even a footnote in her world. I was background noise, a shadow. She stepped over on her way to someone else's bed. And that's when I stopped being angry, stopped being sad. Something colder settled in. A clarity. She hadn't just cheated. She'd rewritten the entire definition of who I thought she was. Forwarded the file to my lawyer. Then I called David. Next time she shows up, I said, tell her this, I know everything. And I'm not stopping until I get everything I'm owed. Because this wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about war. Wednesday morning I was done playing defense. There's something strange that happens when the emotional part of you shuts off. Like your mind stops drowning and starts sharpening. Instead, I wasn't thinking about love or betrayal anymore. I was thinking about leverage, timelines, strategy. Didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. I wanted consequences. So I laid out everything I had. The messages, the dates, the photos, the names. My lawyer, a guy named Patrick, I'd used once before for a property deal, looked through the file in stunned silence. You realize, he said, looking up, if even a fraction of this can be verified, you're sitting on a gold mine of marital misconduct. Can we prove she used joint funds to cover any of this? I asked. He flipped back a page. You said she used your joint card at a hotel downtown on May 12th. Yeah. He typed something into a spreadsheet. That weekend, she told you she was at a medical seminar. I nodded slowly. I brought her lunch that Saturday. She told me to leave it on the porch because she was in a Zoom panel. He didn't even have to say it. We both knew exactly what she was doing in that hotel, and it wasn't networking. If she was using marital assets for extramarital affairs, Patrick said, we can push for at-fault divorce. It'll flip the financial distribution in your favor. I smiled for the first time in weeks. We drafted a formal list of requests, subpoenas for hotel security footage, gym attendance logs, credit card statements, and Patrick told me to sit tight. That night, I slept better than I had in a month. But peace doesn't last long in this kind of story. The next morning, Jessica showed up at my rental. No call, no warning. Just her car in the driveway and her silhouette on the porch. Knocking like this was some casual pop-in visit. Like we were neighbors instead of battlefield survivors. Didn't answer. She knocked again, then texted, I know you're in there. We need to talk. You owe me that. I stepped out, calm, collected. Opened the door just enough to look her in the eye. You've got 90 seconds, I said. She looked different. Not broken, not regretful. Just angry, like I'd stolen something from her. I want to talk like adults, she said, folding her arms like a judge about to hand down a sentence. You want to control the narrative, I said. But I've seen the messages. All of them. Connor, Coach K, Dr. Nathan, you've been busy. Her lips parted just for a second. Then that mask, the one I knew so well, slid back into place. You went through my stuff, she said. Like I was the one on trial. You lied for months, I said. And now you're going to lie to my face again. She tilted her head, smile cold. You always did have a thing for playing victim. That was it. I shut the door in her face. She screamed something as I locked it. Pounded on the door once, then silence. A minute later, I saw her through the blinds, standing by her car, texting furiously. My phone buzzed. You think you're smart? You think a lawyer scares me? You'll be alone forever, Tyler. Good luck finding someone who will put up with you. Didn't answer. I backed up my phone. I logged every message. I documented every threat. Patrick said to keep everything. I did, because now it wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about showing her who she really married, and why I'm not the fool she thought I was. Saturday morning, it had begun. Got the call at 10:47 a.m. Patrick's office. His assistant Lisa was almost breathless with urgency. "You're going to want to see this," she said. "Check your email now." Opened my laptop, clicked into the folder she mentioned. Inside, surveillance footage. High definition, time-stamped May 12th, 8:23 p.m. Jessica wearing a short black dress I'd never seen before, stepping out of an elevator into a hotel hallway, laughing arm in arm with someone who clearly wasn't me. Coach K. The trainer she swore was just a professional contact. The same guy from the texts. The same one she told me had a fiancé. He pressed her against the wall just outside the suite. The door opened. They stumbled in. Footage ended. That was all we needed. I sat there in silence for a full minute. Not because it hurt, didn't. That part of me was already numb. It was because it felt like some cruel documentary, watching the collapse of your life from an external angle. Like a stranger watching someone else's tragedy. Forwarded the file to Patrick with a 2-word subject line. Use this. That same afternoon, the legal motion was filed. Adultery, misuse of marital assets. Request for favorable division of property. Alimony denial. Full legal representation. But here's where things took a sharp left. Jessica called my sister. Not me. My sister. Lisa told her she was worried about me, that I was acting erratic, that I had isolated myself, might be spiraling, might need support. My sister Kelly, bless her heart, saw through it immediately, called me right after and said, "Ty, she's trying to build a mental instability narrative. Probably for court." It made sense. She knew she was cornered, so now she was trying to spin the optics, make it seem like I was unstable, maybe even dangerous, gaslight the narrative into something she could weaponize. She underestimated me. Drove straight to my doctor. Got a full psych evaluation. Cleared, documented, signed, and sealed. Recorded a statement too, just in case. Wasn't taking chances. Not with her. Not with someone who could look you in the eye and lie like it was breathing. But then came the real explosion. Late that night, I got an anonymous message on Facebook. No profile picture, no name. Just a burner account. You don't know half of what she's done. Stared at the screen for a long minute. Who is this? No answer. Then a file attachment. Dozens of screenshots from someone else. Another man, not Connor. Not Coach K. Not the doctor. A fourth guy. The messages were from 2 years ago. The relationship was emotional, but it was intimate. Ongoing and dated. Jessica had started cheating long before I even noticed a crack. This wasn't a recent lapse. It was a lifestyle. And the man who sent the screenshots, he thought he was the only one too. I messaged him back. "Did you know about the others?" His reply, "What others?" That's when I knew Jessica hadn't just betrayed me. She'd built a rotating door of delusion, a whole ecosystem of deception where everyone thought they were the exception. And suddenly I wasn't alone anymore. Started unraveling faster than even I anticipated. 3 days after I got that message from the anonymous guy, let's call him Derek, I received a phone call I didn't expect. It was Connor. Not a message, not a threat. A full-on voice on the line phone call. He sounded confused, not angry, not defensive, just blindsided. "You're Jessica's husband?" he asked cautiously. "Ex-husband," I said flatly. "Pending paperwork?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "She told me you guys were separated, that you've been living apart for a year." I nearly laughed. "We lived together until 3 weeks ago." He exhaled long and bitter. Jesus Christ. Didn't even have to ask. He started spilling it all. The dinners, the overnight stays. The trips she told me were medical conferences. He thought they were exclusive. He'd even talked about introducing her to his parents. She said she'd never loved anyone like this before. He muttered like he still couldn't believe the words came out of her mouth. I told him about Coach K, the doctor, Derek. There was silence. Then Connor said, "I think we need to talk to each other." And that's when the idea formed. We didn't just talk, we organized. Connor, Derek, and I met at a cafe outside the city. Neutral ground. We brought proof, messages, dates, photos. We laid it all out on the table like evidence in a trial. What we discovered was astonishing. Jessica had somehow managed to create 4 completely separate realities with each of us. Different lies, different dreams sold. To Connor, she was the divorcee slowly healing. To Derek, she was the loyal girlfriend waiting for her husband to sign papers. To the doctor, she was his no-strings-attached escape. And to me, I was the stable backup, the home base she returned to when the fantasy cracked. We agreed on one thing. She needed to be confronted. Not with yelling, not with violence. With truth. So we planned it. An intervention of sorts. That weekend, we coordinated through a group chat. Connor told her he booked a couple's massage. Derek said he wanted to take her for brunch. I stayed silent. We met outside her gym. Waited until her session was over. She came out smiling, hair up, bag slung over her shoulder. She looked radiant, like someone who had no idea the curtain was about to fall. And then she saw us, all three of us standing together. Her smile froze mid-formation. Her steps faltered. She stopped 6 feet away, eyes darting between us. "What is this?" Connor spoke first, calm, controlled. I thought it was time we all compared notes. Derek held up his phone. "You said you loved me." I said nothing. I just watched her face. She tried to laugh, tried to toss her hair like she was above it all. "You guys are being ridiculous," she said. "This isn't what it looks like." "Then tell us what it is," I said finally. "Well, wait." But she didn't speak. Her face cracked, not with guilt, not with shame, with fury. "This is harassment," she spat. "You can't do this. I'll call the police." Derek shrugged. "Call them, let's talk about it on record." She didn't move, didn't reach for her phone, just stood there, eyes burning. Knowing the game was over, she turned and walked away. No tears, no apologies, just silence. That night, Connor texted me, "Thank you for not letting her keep lying to us." Didn't reply because I knew this wasn't over. Jessica doesn't go quiet. She reloads, started with a letter. Not an email, not a text. An actual envelope, cream-colored, with my full name written in her handwriting. No return address. Left at the rental's front door like a landmine. I hesitated before opening it. It smelled like her perfume. A tiny petty weapon. Inside was a single-page letter, neatly typed. "Tyler, you've made your point. I see now that your way of handling heartbreak is to embarrass me, to humiliate me in public, to turn strangers into an audience. I never expected you to be this cruel. I never lied about wanting a future with you. I just needed something more while you were busy being unavailable emotionally. You say you were blind, but you were just absent. I hope the version of the story you're telling yourself helps you sleep at night. We'll let the lawyers sort out the rest. Jay." I read it twice, not because I was stunned, but because I couldn't believe she had the audacity to frame this like it was a mutual implosion, as if her lies and deception were reactions to my emotional absence, as if 4 affairs could be excused with a shrug and a smirk. And then came the real blow. That afternoon, I got a call from my HR department. They asked me to come in for a discussion. I knew immediately. I walked into that room, 2 supervisors and a compliance officer, and they slid a printout across the table, an anonymous complaint alleging that I'd been using company time to stalk and harass my spouse, that I had unstable behavior, that I'd involved co-workers in private domestic disputes. I read the document. It was full of vague claims, but enough to create HR panic. They asked if I wanted to respond. I laughed. Actually laughed. "Does it say who submitted this?" I asked. They exchanged glances. Of course, it didn't. "Do you really think I don't know where this came from?" I said, steady. They told me they were required to do a review. I spent the rest of the week under performance observation, like a child in detention. They found nothing. My record was clean. My productivity hadn't dropped once, even during the separation. Eventually, they dropped it. But the message was loud and clear. She was trying to poison the well. If she couldn't control the story, she tried to damage my world from the edges. Emails started flooding in from old friends. A few mutual acquaintances, people I hadn't spoken to in months, suddenly reached out to say, "Hey man, Jessica's been talking. Just wanted to hear your side." She was planting seeds everywhere, painting herself as the victim, casting me as unstable, bitter, vengeful. Didn't respond to any of them, because the truth doesn't need defending in whispers. It needs exposure. So I compiled everything. The messages, the footage, the letter, the HR complaint. All of it. I wrote a full affidavit with my lawyer, and then I submitted it to the court. We were no longer negotiating. We were litigating. She wanted to drag my name. I'd let the facts bury hers. Courtrooms are cold in a very specific way. Not temperature, but atmosphere. That sterile, weightless kind of cold, where time drags and tension hums behind every quiet shuffle and cough. I sat at the left table in a navy suit. I hadn't worn since my cousin's wedding, watching the door like it owed me an explanation. She walked in late. Jessica, hair curled, black blazer, pearl necklace. The costume of a woman who wanted to appear calm, collected, and victimized. She didn't look at me. Not once. just sat down at her table and whispered something to her lawyer, some kid barely older than a law student, with a smug expression and a MacBook full of nothing. The judge entered. Formalities began. I barely heard them. Then they asked for opening remarks. Her side went first. Her lawyer stood, cleared his throat, like he was about to deliver a eulogy, and started weaving a narrative that was so distorted it was almost impressive. According to them, I was an emotionally abusive husband, distant, neglectful, that she sought emotional support from friends and things got complicated, that I had retaliated with a campaign of public humiliation and personal sabotage. He used phrases like vindictive digital retaliation and manipulative gaslighting behavior. He painted a picture where Jessica had barely survived being married to me. I didn't flinch, because when my lawyer stood, Patrick, solid, slow, methodical, he didn't tell a story. He presented evidence. Exhibit A, the screenshots, dozens of them, messages from 4 different men, dates aligned, locations verified. Exhibit B, the surveillance video, time-stamped, confirmed with billing records. Exhibit C, the letter she left me, the one where she admitted she needed something more, and blamed me for being emotionally unavailable. Exhibit D, the HR complaint, anonymous, false, filed days after we confronted her. And finally, Exhibit E, a character affidavit from Connor himself, submitted under oath. The judge sat still for a long time after Patrick finished. Then he turned to Jessica. "Do you dispute any of these messages or records, Mrs. Rodriguez?" She swallowed. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering fast. She looked down at the table, jaw clenched, then up. "No," she said, quiet, defeated. In that one syllable, everything shifted. She knew it was over. The judge took a moment, then addressed the court. Given the overwhelming and substantiated evidence of infidelity, and the apparent pattern of deliberate deception and misuse of joint assets, the court will proceed under grounds of marital fault. That was it. The air left her lungs like someone pulled a plug. She tried to speak again, some last-ditch effort, but the judge cut her off. "You will have your turn to speak during settlement review. For now, please be seated." She sank back into her chair like a puppet with its strings cut. That afternoon, the financial ruling came down. She would get no spousal support. I retained the house, the dog, the joint investments. The court even mandated that she pay partial attorney fees. Based on the damage caused by the false workplace complaint, she stared straight ahead. Didn't cry, didn't plead. She just burned. Later, outside the courthouse, I walked past her. She was standing by her car, arms folded, face blank. "You think you won?" she asked. I stopped, looked her in the eye. "No," I said. "I think I finally stopped losing." Then I left. Didn't look back. You'd think that after a courtroom defeat that brutal, Jessica would vanish, lick her wounds, rebuild her fantasy somewhere else, maybe even reflect. But that's not how people like her operate. When a narcissist loses control, they don't disappear. They rebrand. It started subtle. A friend of a friend messaged me on Instagram, someone I hadn't talked to since college. He sent a screenshot of Jessica's latest post. Her profile, once private, was now a public theater of self-pity and curated victimhood. The photo showed her sitting on a bench near a lake, staring off into the distance like she just survived a Shakespearean tragedy. The caption, "Sometimes you give everything and it's still not enough. But healing starts with letting go of toxic cycles." The comment section was exactly what she wanted. Sympathy. Dozens of comments from women calling her brave, strong, resilient. One even wrote, "He didn't deserve you." Someone else added, "I hope you're finally free of the abuse." It was laughable, but I didn't respond. Didn't comment, didn't react. Because I knew what this was. It wasn't for them. It was for me. It was bait. And when that didn't get a rise, she moved to phase 2. She started texting again. Short messages. First it was benign. "Hope your mom is doing okay. I heard she was sick." Then, "Just remembered your birthday is coming up." Then, "Can we just talk? Just once? No drama, I promise." Every message chipped at the door she no longer had the key to. Then came the real swing, the last one. She showed up to the house. I had just gotten back from work. It was raining and she was standing on the porch, like a scene from some indie drama, soaking wet in a hoodie, hair stuck to her cheeks. The same house she used to roll her eyes at, the one she now had no legal claim to. I opened the door halfway. "Tyler," she said, voice soft, cracking just enough to sound human. "I don't want to fight anymore." I said nothing. "I made mistakes, I know that, but I've been doing therapy and I think there's a version of us that could still exist. Even if it's just as friends. Friends." It was so absurd I almost laughed. You cheated on me with 4 men, I said, and tried to destroy my career. Her eyes flickered, but she kept her tone sweet. That wasn't you, it was the situation. We were broken before that, I just needed something. I didn't move. Then she stepped closer. Too close. Can't we just talk? One dinner, no expectations? She reached out and I stepped back. No, I said. You don't get to rewrite this. I looked at her, really looked, the water in her hair, the desperation in her eyes. You wanted control. You lost it. Now you want a new angle. It's not going to work. She stared at me. Then that mask, the victim, the soft sincerity, melted like ice under heat. Fine, she hissed. Rot alone then. You'll never be loved the way I loved you. I smiled. Not cruel, just peacefully. You're right, I said. I won't because that wasn't love. I closed the door slowly, firmly. On her, on the past, on every lie she ever told me. She hasn't contacted me since. But I wasn't done yet. Telling the story wasn't about revenge. It was about release. Didn't plan it. Not at first. Didn't sit down thinking I was going to air out everything. But one night in the new house I rented, clean walls, no memories, no shadows, I sat at my desk and opened a blank page. And I started writing everything. From the first lie to the final slam of the door. Not just the cheating, but the manipulation, the gaslighting, the erasure of my worth over time. The way she'd slowly turned me into a version of myself. That was always apologizing, always doubting, always shrinking so she could feel bigger. I wrote it all. Didn't name her. Didn't need to, but I told the truth. The ugly, honest, nauseating truth. And then on a quiet Wednesday morning, I posted it to a private forum first. Just a group for people navigating betrayal. No fanfare, no attention-seeking. Just a voice in the dark, hoping maybe someone else had heard the same echoes. Within a day, it had been shared. Within a week, thousands of people had read it, and the messages started pouring in. Not sympathy, not pity, recognition. People, men and women, both saying, "This happened to me too." Saying I thought I was crazy until now. Saying thank you for writing what I couldn't say. And for the first time in over a year, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Seen, the story took on a life of its own. Forums reposted it. Articles referenced it. Someone even reached out asking if I'd consider turning it into a podcast episode. I politely declined. That wasn't the point. Didn't want to be famous. I just wanted to be free. Then came the email. An old colleague of Jessica's, a nurse, reached out anonymously. Said she'd read the story. Recognized the timeline, recognized the patterns. Said she'd always suspected something, but never had proof. Then she dropped a line that stayed with me. She made everyone feel like they were crazy. But you were right. We all saw it. We just didn't want to believe it. That was all I needed. Not validation, not vengeance. Just confirmation that I wasn't imagining any of it. Because for a long time, I thought maybe I was the problem. Maybe I had failed her. Maybe I hadn't loved her the right way. Maybe I'd missed something. But now I knew the truth. I was never the villain in her story. I was the mirror. And she hated what she saw when she looked at me too closely. It didn't end with a dramatic speech. There was no final fight. No climactic apology. No begging on her knees with tears in her eyes. Real life rarely gives you that kind of symmetry. What I got instead was silence. The kind that doesn't hurt anymore. The kind that feels like finally walking out of a room that's been slowly suffocating you for years. 4 months passed. The divorce was finalized without another word from her. The papers were signed, stamped, and delivered by a courier who probably didn't even know the weight of what he was holding. The house was mine. The dog was mine. My life mine again. Didn't throw a party. I went for a drive. Windows down. Music loud. Not angry songs, not sad ones. Just sound, motion, wind. A reminder that I was still here. That I'd made it out of something meant to bury me. I thought about everything. The betrayal, the lies, the games, the desperate final plays she tried to run. And I realized something that stopped me cold. She didn't destroy me. She exposed me. Not to the world, to myself. She ripped away the version of me that tolerated mediocrity, that accepted silence instead of affection, that mistook guilt for love and chaos for passion. She made me see just how much I'd abandoned myself, trying to hold on to someone who never planned to stay. And now I'm not rebuilding. I'm reinventing. I started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I stayed so long. Why I kept forgiving lies wrapped in pretty words. Why I let someone else define my worth. I picked up new habits. Hobbies I used to love but dropped for her convenience. Music, books, solo road trips. I stopped checking her socials. I blocked the urge to reread old texts. I stopped looking back. Most importantly, I learned how to be alone without being lonely. A few weeks ago, I ran into an old friend, someone who knew both of us. She hesitated before speaking, then finally asked, "Do you ever think about her, miss her?" I looked her dead in the eye and told the truth. No, because I finally learned the difference between missing a person and missing who you thought they were. This story, my story, isn't a tragedy. It's a warning. It's a reminder that not everyone who claims to love you actually wants you whole. Some people only love what you give them, the supply, the comfort, the ego strokes. And when you stop feeding that, they'll replace you like a light bulb. Let them, because one day they'll realize something horrifying. You were the best part of their story, and they'll never get another chapter, not with you. And that's the real ending.